But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation.
All right. Now take the hand of the person next to you. Come on, Leighton. Dear Dark Lord Satan, hope everything's good with you. I'm doing fine myself. Just want to say hi and ask you to grant tonight's nominees continued success in the music industry. How's that?
We ought to ban hunting, I suggest, if there isn't a purpose other than sport and fun. That should be against the law. It's time now.
That many years, because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students.
There are 4,000 universities. So I estimate there are somewhere between 10 and 30,000 indoctrination courses. That is, courses designed that when you come out of them, you have a radical Marxist, anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-free market point of view.
Without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see.
Ese fantasma.
And that ghost
es un fantasma espantoso.
is
Casi
a
nadie quiere
terrible
nombrarlo.
ghost. Nobody wants to name him or
El
her.
capitalismo.
It's
Es
capitalism.
el fantasma.
Capitalism is that ghost.
Casi nadie quiere nombrarlo.
Nobody, I don't think, wants to name it.
El capitalismo.
Capitalism.
That one of these Santa Cruz courses describes itself this way. The goal of this seminar is to learn how to organize a revolution, and then it goes on to explain that that revolution is anti-capitalist, anti-global capitalism.
Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system.
I brought up the subject of what's going to happen after we take over the government. We become responsible then for administrating, 250 million people. And there was no answers. No one had given any thought to economics. How are you going to clothe and feed these people?
We know that we have seen very dangerous inclinations in the radicals surrounding Obama. We know about the education czar boasting about Mao Zedong being one of her mentors.
Mao Zedong and Mother Teresa, not often coupled with each other, but the 2 people that I turn to most.
Did you know that there's now a manufacturing czar named Ron Bloom who says that Mao Zedong is his role model as well?
We know this is largely about power, that it's an adults-only, no-limit game. We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun. And we get it, that if you want a friend, you should get a dog.
But now he's in charge of manufacturing. I don't know what a manufacturing czar does, but he was handpicked by Obama. He's an outright Maoist. Education secretary, outright Maoist. Sunstein, outright Marxist. Right down the list. You're looking at it, idiots. Morons, wake up! There's a revolution that's occurred right under your nose. What, because you didn't read it in the New York Times?
This they don't understand, and it will be a greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. for the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, you are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black. You still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior.
Their whole thing about me, whether it be me being a devil worshiper or whatever, besides them reading into my hand over my eye on my album cover.
Why is your hand over your eye on your album?
Because I'm a devil worshiper. What are you talking about?
In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
The only thing that I could get was that they expected that the Cubans and the North Vietnamese and the Chinese and the Russians would all want to occupy different portions of the United States. They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be.
Large, enthusiastic crowds have turned out for the first day of mandatory civil registration.
Registration? Any jerk can see they're on their way to a concentration camp.
Phaeton must subjugate the planet, quickly and brutally and publicly. As long as humans believe they can resist, they will.
I ask, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are die-hard capitalists?
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people.
Don't you understand how this is working? I realize many of you want to live in a dictatorship because you have no self-control, and fundamentally you really don't care who controls you because you can't control yourself. In a way, it's a demonic wish to be controlled by somebody. And you wish that this man is going to be a benevolent dictator. But if dictatorships around the world are any indication of what kind of dictatorship the Obama regime will become, should they not be opposed, will not be a benign dictatorship. We have an early dictatorship. It is no longer crawling, it is now walking.
And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill. 25 million people.
Exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp.
Military occupational specialty, internment resettlement specialist.
He will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.
I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.